Well, zooming and panning. This is a Pandora's box because there are so many ways to zoom in on an image now, and especially with CS4, there's real fancy ways that you can like zoom in on an image as if you're, driving a stealth bomber. I actually want to just show you some simple ways to zoom in and pan around your image. And you might be saying, well, why is that important? Really, there are so many reasons for retouching, for checking sharpness of your image, even for inspecting for maybe dust or any kind of flaw in the image. I see people working with a tiny little image on their desktop and then a lot of gray space around it. So knowledge of zooming and panning is really important. So the way that I want to show you how to do it is actually just simply using your scroll wheel. None of the fancy little stealth bomber stuff for now. And that is a preference. So if you come into the classroom and you find that you can't use your scroll wheel, that's what I'm doing right now. Woo, scroll wheel, out, in. Just go up right here to Photoshop and go to Preferences General. Click on that and you will get this screen, and what you're looking for is right here, and mine is already checked, is Zoom with Scroll Wheel. A lot of students might turn that off because they don't want that. They want the scroll wheel to do something else. So when you come in, just if your scroll wheel is not working, that would be just under the Photoshop Preferences General and Zoom with Scroll Wheel. To me, that's a really simple way. I don't need the real fancy zooming in techniques. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. Once you zoom in, I do see people trying to use these blue bars on the side. And again, if you're working in the center of the image, why move your wrist all the way over here? And so a very important, let's say I'm using the brush. So I'll click on the brush or hit the letter B, and I'm trying to, paint this area. And let's say I'm going to undo that, and I want to zoom in and look at a different part of the picture, then I'll push over by using this, do you see this little kind of Mickey Mouse glove right here? So that the brush immediately is turning into the Mickey Mouse glove. Now, you could be on the brush and then go over here to the toolbox and click on the Mickey Mouse glove, or you could just be on the brush, and this is a really important shortcut to remember, is just hold down the space bar. Yep, the space bar. So any tool that you're on, move tool, healing, let's say you're trying to clone some things, hold down the space bar and you can push through your image. So I find that, and you can look at this image even for sharpness. It was a really shallow depth of field. So just the donut vortex is sharp, and you can see it's becoming unsharp on the edges here. So it's probably like a 2 or 2.8 depth of field. Now, is it sharp, or am I really zoomed in? This is something to consider with zooming and panning, and a lot of people overlook this, which is right up here at the top. It tells you what percentage. I'm looking at this image at 66.5%. Also down here, it'll tell me what percentage. So sometimes people will be looking at their image like this, and they'll be like, wow, this image is sharp. But actually, if I look up here, I'm actually looking at it only at 7%. So one of the tricks about sharpness is that you really need to zoom in at 100%. You can't really tell sharpness unless you do. If I click on either the hand tool or the zoom tool over here, you'll notice that there's some shortcuts here that are kind of nice, which is, remember, whatever tool you're on, your options bar at the top is going to change. And on this hand tool, it changes your option bar for some viewing modes. So I can actually click on actual pixels, and that will give me a better idea if I'm looking at a sharp image, as opposed to something like print size or fill screen, which, well, now I'm outside of my viewing screen, but I'm going to go back to actual pixels so that we can take a look at that. Let me bring it back in. Whoa. all those delicious multicolored candies. So this gives me a better way to inspect, and you'll notice up here at the top it says I'm viewing it at 100%. And so those are some important things to know about zooming and panning. There's about 100 other ways that you can zoom and pan, but for our purposes in the beginning of this class, we're just going to use the good old scroll wheel, and then when you want to fit the screen or look at actual pixels, then you might use some of these tabs.